Alright, guys, let's go. I have been on a break. Seems like the most opportune time to be on a break. What? I think we all know what happened last Friday. We'll talk about it later. But for now, let's enjoy some songs, huh? Haven't been playing these songs for quite some time, but I feel like we need some songs, some musics in our lives. Okay, give me a couple songs. Yeah, which one should I play? Let's see, which one is more fitting. Um, let's let's see. Mm, okay, try this one.
Bitcoin's falling, screens are flashing red. Panic sellers losing what they've bled. But I'm not running, I won't lose my head. Standing tall while others flee instead. Online writers cry their hearts out loud. Unrealized loss is a fearful crowd. But I'm not joining their hysterical sound. I'll ride this wave and stay unbound. I'm going against the grain. Won't let that panic be my chain. When others sell, I remain in this financial hurricane. Don't follow blindly, think for yourself. Your strategy's not found on a shelf. Be the outlier, break from the norm. Weather this crypto storm. Assignment clear, my design is set. I'm not a sheep in this betting bed. While they're all fleeing, I'll double down. Opportunity wears volatility's crown. The crowd runs wild, but I stand my ground. In chaos, true wisdom can be found. I'm going against the rain. Won't let that panic be my chain. When others sell, I remain in this financial hurricane. Against the grain, I'll always choose this roller coaster. I refuse to lose. When Bitcoin drops, I'll still cruise. 'Cause panic's a game I refuse to use.
Alright. That. Okay. How's everybody doing? I don't know how many people even remember that my channel exists, but it's okay. It's life, you know. Was able to go on a short vacation. Pick the right, perfect time to be on vacation for sure. Oops, sorry guys. I'm trying to. I have a new earphone here, a very cheap one from the United Airline. But yeah, not quite sure. Sound weird though with this cheap earphone. But anyway, so um, where was I? But anyway, so I uh, travel around the time in which it was going crazy. Um, so I wasn't even able to see the price drop on Friday. So this price drop was kind of scary to me, but of course, like I kind of expected to be uh, something a bit lesser, um, what is it called? Like the drop, the liquidation. There you go. And that's why it was a little bit scary. But like this is the nature of crypto. I've been here before. It's not the end of the world, as people are telling you and screaming, off the top of, like, of course, like any type of investment, right? Whether it is GME or Bitcoin, the same thing. Anytime there's a price drop, there's a price depreciation or whatever you called it. People, jump on the bandwagon, telling you, "Oh, this is over, this is it," and all that stuff. Meanwhile, people are lining up right now to buy gold, physical gold at the all-time high, right? And my point in bringing that up is that when people are making that emotional decision, right? um, they would most likely to buy or sell anything at a low and then buy everything at a high, which is the opposite of what you should be doing. While people are stampeding to buy something that is overpriced, you don't want to be there. No. Yes, you might be. I mean, they might be able to profit off of, from 4,000 per ounce to 5,000 per ounce. Sure, but how much is that like risk? Um, And to me, my point is like the risk to reward for gold is not there anymore. I might be wrong. It could be, like I said, who knows? Might be 10,000 an ounce in the next 12 months. But however high gold would go, I think bitcoins will follow. It's just history repeat itself type of deal. Right now, so why uh isn't Bitcoin following the price of gold? Well, because the rotation has not happened yet. It will happen when people start to take profit off of gold and rotate it back into whatever asset that they wanted to. Typically, they want to buy something else that kind of follow, you know, the gold narrative, which is the digital gold and all that stuff. So I don't fear that this big money or even retail investor won't come back. Now, with that being said, though, the scariest part is that what if most retail investor, whether you have $1 million, $2 million or whatever, retail investor has 2 million, I have no idea. But my point is like they will liquidate based on the leverage play that they were, making bets, using leverage and all that stuff in order to gain more in percentage wise. Okay, so the whole point in this dip right here is to force liquidate people who are overly bullish. Okay, now for me, I don't use any leverage, so of course, yes, I have some coins. Altcoin was hitting the hardest, of course, like XRP, and my other altcoin was like, man, 30% down, right? Now, when I buy those coins, my intention was to always had some leeway of trading, okay? And so I'm not, I would be willing to sell a certain portion, of my crypto. And again, that's a strategy that I've been developing. It's not something personal to me. I mean, it's something personal to me, right? Just because it works for me doesn't mean that's going to work for you. But my point is like when people are panicking, right? This is the best opportunity to buy. I'm telling you, like had you buy down here when people were freaking out at 100, what's 100 103. Okay, so when people are freaking out and if you buy over here and you held, you're up 3%, right, for Bitcoin. So again, even with this cascading liquidation on just one day here, 9%. And people are like, what? Crypto is crashing. Oh my God. It's over, right? And even to the lowest point here, uh, even continuing, to cascade down, it's still at 18%. So this pullback is very mild, in my opinion. I mean, if you cannot stomach, 18% down, um, even 20% down, or even 30% down, you have no business in being in this asset class for sure. It's too volatile for you. You cannot stomach it. So, and listen, I'm not knocking that emotion at all because that could be scary for you if you need the money right away. Okay. And so that's why, make sure you pay your bills before investing in anything at all, including GameStop, if you wanted to. Now, speaking of GameStop, I'll go back to that in a minute. But I did something that I didn't want to do, but I had to do it. So I had to trim some of my position in GME. I am sorry to say, but listen, this opportunity for crypto dip is not something I will pass by just like that. Because in my opinion, the bull run is just beginning. Right? I know people are freaking out. The regional banking system was down and all that stuff, and perhaps that was the dip. It wasn't because of the tariffs announcement or anything. The tariffs announcement was just a cover up, okay, to the systemic, um, problem that the bank had, and that was again related to First Brand and all that stuff. The banking, the shadow banking that was showing a balance sheet that wasn't stellar, right? And of course, some of the regional bank uh, stock was going down. So of course, like that type of news was not being talked about, right? The systemic risk could also cascade some of doubt to these risk asset class, but that's not the indictment of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still strong, in my opinion. I mean, listen, we just reached an all-time high a couple weeks ago, right? But just like recently, not even a week. What was it? October 4th. No, October 7th, right? So during that time, we were reaching all-time high. So now it's like extremely fearful. We were euphoria over here, fearful over here. Really, like just a snap of a finger, right? Now that could be good for both Bitcoin investor who wants to accumulate more, and also for GME holder as well. I know with the warrants, it's very complicated. I kind of expected to run actually, but nothing as expected, right? Nothing's gonna happen until they're resolving all of this liquidation and all that stuff from the shadow banking, right? And so until people are willing to look into those type of loans and whether those loans have any uh, tangible asset or even liquid asset, then how many of them will be forced to write at a loss, for their balance sheets and all that stuff. And so that could also be a another layer of fears that could be added to this particular downturn for both the stock market and Bitcoin as well. But even with Bitcoin, going down uh, to test this trend line here, um, you're still at just right below $100,000 still. Now, unless it's like doing this thing, bouncing and then go back here, and then breaking through, then people are gonna freak out even more. But keep in mind, I mean, how low can it go? I mean, I'm willing to catch it over here. Remember when it was over here? People probably was wishing that they were buying, right? What if it bounced off of this trend line, right? Instead of going further down, bounce off of here and then off to the race. Why do I think that? I think this uh, direction is actually more closely aligned to the global liquidity and all that stuff, and the debt re refinancing of the U.S. Treasury bond. Right. Remember, we still have $9 trillion to rebalance, or to roll into the future. $9 trillion is a lot, so the whole idea to do this, either to debase your own dollar to pay off the debt, right? Just to keep kicking can down the road. But $9 trillion is a lot. If you have to pay what, even just 3% of that, right? It's still a lot of money to just pay back in interest. Okay, so that's the dilemma here. If they're not easing the market condition or financial condition, guess what? The market's gonna go down, and Trump doesn't want that. So I don't know if you guys heard about Scott Bessent just announced a price control. Remember, these people are touting that they want a free market, right? Less government intervention. But the minute the minute it hits their own pockets, right? No integrity whatsoever. They just like poop, you know. Um, but anyways, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about here. Is that he was saying, well, we need to keep up the price control, okay, and not to put a cap on it, but he's gonna try to have a minimum amount that you should be paying. So if the government says, hey, oil should be at around $100 a barrel versus $60 per barrel, so that American, oil industry could compete with the global demand or whatever, rather than, let the free market decide what the price is, they're gonna raise the price up no matter what. How is that making any sense to you? How is this like free market capitalism, but yet not really, like I said, these people have no integrity whatsoever, I feel. Right? When they say shit like that, I'm like, so what's that mean? It means that you have to pay more for gas, right? Artificially. Not because of the free market set up the price, but somebody tells you you must pay this much. And again, this is what happened in the financial market too, like the commercial real estate and all that stuff that are not even bringing any revenue, but they demand so much more because they deserve that price, right? And they're gonna get that price no matter what. Try to force you to overpay for everything in your life. Okay, so I don't know. I hope it's not going to pass soon, but from what I'm hearing, they're actually planning to do this. And again, they're gonna cite, this is national security threat and da 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 da, just so that they could print money. So to keep themselves afloat, thinking rather than letting people go bust. Free market society? Nah, not really. Whoever has the connection to get the first dip on the money is going to survive, and it's not so much according to your own, you know, hard sweats and tears in order to create any value into the system. Okay. And then, in the same breath, people are like, well, Bitcoin doesn't have any value and all that stuff, intrinsic value argument thing. Okay, if you don't understand the intrinsic value of, the hardest asset class in the world in terms of money, right? Or the hardest money, like that. But anyway, so it's a bit Bitcoin centric over here. But anyway, so the plan for me here is now I still have my forever hold portion. Unfortunately, that's all I have for now for my long term. But also too, I have my trading account, so I'm not completely out of the trade or anything like that. I'm just trimming some in various areas so that I could take advantage of this crypto dip. Of course, I'm planning to come back. I know I've been saying that for the past couple months. But I'm gonna selfishly wish. Am I eating? Selfishly wish that Jimmy's gonna stay at this price. Now, my thought about the price action is just very slow, you guys, very slow, and it's normal for this ticker, for this particular stock. Man, for this particular stock. But hey, guess what? You have the best value for your buck right now. Okay? I know people are probably traders out here. They probably will look for this breakdown, right? For the leg down before it comes back up. Again, it doesn't need to. However, if it doesn't need to. It does not need to break. But what I've noticed is this pattern over here that kind of similar, right? Similarly there. Okay, there you go. What I'm seeing is that, right? And I'm like, okay, perhaps, whatever bad news comes this week, more bad news from China, retaliation, or whatever, right? That could dip the price a little bit lower to scare people, more people off. And that level is, wow, that's too low. I think, this amplitude here may not be that, may not be that big, may not be that deep, okay? So I'm willing to say perhaps it's going to be 18. Remember that guy saying, yeah, maybe before earnings they might want to drop it down here. Who knows? But this is me speculating. But that gap is not quite filling yet, so not much there to talk about, you guys. But I mean, you could say that it is kind of filling. Maybe they couldn't even let GameStop go another 20 cents before they have to come back down. There's also another gap over here, up here. Um, that might be filled later on, after this downturn over here. So I'm gonna selfishly think that that is going to happen, because I want to come back. Now, I did add some more warrant, not very much. I'm planning to get at least another 50 or so, but I'm slowly, kind of diligently try to buy one at a time. Um, but yeah, so we'll see. Um, so as far as warrants, I add some more. Again, very small, very small. But anyway, so I did trim substantial amount on the share itself because I can't pass up this crypto dip, you guys. Like I've been here before. I'm telling you, the dip is not normal, and typically when this stuff happen, people freak out for a couple of days or even a couple of weeks, right? So and then what happened? Good news comes along, and then boom, all time high again. And people will become like more euphoria then too. That then they're gonna be like buying it at like $200,000 of Bitcoin. So FOMO will kick in. Right now, people are too scared, which is the best time for you to accumulate if you want more. Now I got wrecked on altcoin, but keep in mind my altcoins portfolio are the ones that have high conviction. So with this low price, of course, like why wouldn't I come to buy it like in truckloads? Hold on. Oh my gosh. Okay. But anyway, so look at that, man. I couldn't even get at this price point, you guys. Like I tried. It was reject so many times. I tried to buy it at here too. Couldn't get it fill. I did get it fill around. Let's see, around here. I remember right there. But I have the 2x exposure ETF, so technically it's not straight up XRP, although I do have that too on chain. But the fact that the 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 2 time X, yeah, I got hit, meaning my portfolio is red. However, it's deep red. But hey, as long as I'm not selling, I'm not realizing the loss or anything like that. I mean, right now it's good for tax loss harvest as well. So perhaps this is what just the natural, movement of the stock market from the old to the news type of thing, right? Remember, this is global, okay? Crypto is global, traditional finance and all that stuff is coming towards the space. And so that's why you hear a lot of the announcements and, Bitcoin, crypto, whatever, and Fox News and any type of media outlet, Bloomberg and da 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 da, right? They don't want you to buy it when it was $16,000. They're like, oh, rat poison, and oh, it has no intrinsic value. It's going to zero. Whatever narrative that they're putting out at that time to scare you at buying when it was cheap. Okay. Now that it's 100,000, 120, they're trying to create that hype in order to get more people sucked in, but then also, drop, drop the price so that they could whatever. But again, listen, somebody knew about this dip and then bet against it. So and somebody always knew ahead of time. So it's nothing new there, unless there's some investigation needs to happen. But who am I to call for that, right? Technically, if you have a network of people who want to protect you and all that stuff, of course, of course, by no means. But hey, stuff like this is gonna come and haunt you, so you don't want to screw that up. Wouldn't want to live in that environment anyway. So this is a trend down bull flag or whatever. I would ignore this liquidation events over here, and I'm sure like some people who are trading on leverage would lose so much money. I don't use leverage with the exception of like I guess ETF 2.2 times ETF or XRP here, because I know like you could say that I'm gambling or whatever, but I'm like to say that I bet on my own ability to pick and choose which coin it has the best chance of survival, and not only that, thrive in the time of need. So that's why again I pick XRP, XLM, you know. And then yes, I do have some meme coins and all that stuff. Quite a bit actually, because I expect it to move fast. Um, let's see. But again, when you put money into something, please do some research because this stuff will scare shitless. It will scare you shitless. If you don't know what to do here, you're most likely to sell at a loss. Why would you? Why would you be selling something that is so valuable in the future? Okay. Well, because people are spreading fear. Okay. Just like when Jimmy was down here, people were spreading fear that it's gonna go down to $4. Oh my goodness, right? Type of thing. Same. Uh, Bitcoin is down now and never gonna do what I think it's gonna do, right? Whatever complaints that people have today about Bitcoin not doing something, just take that as an opportunity to buy. Okay. Now let's switch gear a little bit. Let me have more real estate over here. I guess people are not chiming in or just fall asleep at this moment. It's actually 10 o'clock. I should have done this in the morning, but hey, I feel the burning sensation to. Oh wait, that doesn't sound right at all. Sorry. I feel like I haven't been on for quite some time, so I just want to update you guys a little bit. But anyway, um, let's listen into this Bitcoin centric video here. And it's the idea of, again, deflationary versus inflationary environment. Which one would you rather live in? And I think, when they are programming people, okay, to be scared of deflationary, it's because these people, whoever in control, needs the price to be higher so that they could prop up their shitty balance sheets. Okay, whatever that is. Now, again, this is the policies and the policymakers and people who are not aware of what is happening. Like they don't even understand half of the stuff that's happened in this financial committee, right? All they know is that, well, somebody so and so recommended me to buy this stock, and so I just buy it, and then they just become rich, right? Not knowing what's going on half of the time. But anyway, so to understand this, I think let's just play the video. We'll talk
Essentially measured against Bitcoin, the energy-backed protocol, that all prices are falling. And so what I think is happening is Bitcoin is pricing the first global free market that's ever existed. If you measure in Bitcoin, for instance, my house was 300 Bitcoin about 5 years ago. And today my house is about 8 Bitcoin. In fiat terms, my house has gone up in value. But in Bitcoin terms, it's gone down in value. So if you measure in the protocol, you'll see that happening, that same thing, all prices falling forever in Bitcoin.
13 years ago, it took 30,000 Bitcoin to buy this house in North America. A decade later, 20. Today, 5. Prices keep falling in Bitcoin, but they keep getting higher in dollars. So, which one is lying?
Real growth is productivity growth.
This is an important point, right? People always say, well, it's measuring in dollars, therefore it's inferior to dollar. I'm like, okay, it depends on what direction you are measuring. Everything is measuring in dollar. That doesn't mean that dollar is more superior. No. But if you measure it in Bitcoin, right, everything does become less expensive. Okay? So, I mean, the example of, 3,000 Bitcoin versus 5? I mean, no brainer, right? But again, people again, they're stuck in the paradigm of inflationary price, and they tout that as a free market society. Oh, it's a free market. Of course, people are allowed to charge anything they want. But if you are forcing people to pay more because you have the monopoly, because, all of the companies and all of the big business out there, they're just hoarding, the power to themselves. And the power is not distributed among the corporation even. Some corporation get away with a lot of atrocity, right? Just because they're too big to fail, and then they're just being propped up by, the government expense, right? You and I, right? Through, bailouts and even, the Argentinian thing. Yeah, America first. America first. Yeah, that's probably it's crazy. Like again, the cognitive dissonance for these people. Sometimes I'm just like, man, hey, I'm part of that too, I guess. But the point is, Bitcoin will stay here until the end of time. Okay, and so if you don't understand that concept, you will be the one who buy Bitcoin at $5 million a coin. Yeah. And even then, you're still early to the game, right?
And productivity growth is faster deflation. So in the world that we're experiencing artificial intelligence moving at the rate it's growing, that's going to merge with robotics. You would expect that world to have massive productivity growth. You'd expect that world to. Each business has to use this technology. Otherwise, you won't use the business because it'll cost too much. So you're a part of the equation driving this massive productivity growth around the world. And from that productivity growth should be faster deflation. And that's why you can only measure that outside of the credit-based system. You can only measure that from Bitcoin. But that's what's happening. That productivity rate growth, if you own Bitcoin or is part of that system, is flowing to you. If you don't, it's being extracted from you. There's an objective reality that the natural state of the free market is deflation. That is a fact. You could try to disprove that fact, but if that fact is true, then the other system is all fake growth. And your belief inside that system gives it its strength.
Growth looks good on paper, but bad in real life. Let me explain. Charts go up, headlines cheer, people clap, but numbers always lie. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're being catfished, and not in a good way. God, it looks scary. Fake growth wears designer clothes and borrows a car for the night. It looks rich, but the truth is, it's running on credit. Government uses GDP as a measure of growth in an economy, but 23% of GDP is government paying for their own project with money by their own admission that they can print out of thin air.
Your banks are safe, there's enough cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
So is GDP even real? When the state takes control of growth, it starts mistaking movement for progress. It builds bridges to nowhere, houses that stay empty, and policies that look good in election year, but they rot after.
So sorry. So it's created artificial supply or demand, okay, that are not there for the things, right? Normally, in the natural state of growth for capitalism, is only the growth only happens when new ideas sprout, right? To make things cheaper, to make things more reliable, to make things more appealing, whatever, right? But those type of things takes time. But these people, they figure out like, well, why wait when you could just print trillions of dollars in one go, right? In 1 year. And not to expect like, oh, because we're so like, people are so gullible and they don't even understand what's happening. All you have to do is just like blame it on the war, Ukraine and all that stuff, right? Remember when all of that was happening, they knew that inflation was gonna be, wrecking the economy. But yet they still tell you, well, it's gonna be transitory, it's gonna be this, and it's gonna be that. And again, it's just a word salad at that moment in time. But if people were to understand, like, well, it's gonna be inflationary due to government, printing money, they would just buy stocks, right? And yes, people did get rich, even 2001, 2002. What happened, right? And when that bubble inflate, it's gonna have to be deflated back. And so that's why you see that, you know, let's see, you see that spike, in 21. And again, hey, it's gonna happen again to get to GameStop as well. It's all liquidity, okay? It's nothing to do with retail. Yes, retail ride that wave for sure, but we don't move market, as we all know. Let's see. I know I'm gonna have to go sleep soon, but let me just finish this video first, though. The whole point of crypto is to measure a free market society. Okay? Because in this system, you cannot lie, right? However many bitcoins you have to show it on chain, or people gonna come
Politicians
knocking.
don't focus on the end goal. They focus on the finish line because consumption, it wins votes. Do you remember 2020? The stock market reached record highs. Meanwhile, 22 million people lost their jobs because
Yeah. How is that making sense? Okay. Crazy.
record highs. Meanwhile, 22 million people lost their jobs because for every dollar you received in stimulus from the government, a corporation got 90 in government loans.
Did you hear that? $1 equals $90 for a corporation. So no wonder they're doing so much better than mainstream. Okay? And guess what? Did they work harder than mainstream to get that? No. It's due to money policy. The easiest thing in the world, right? You just lie to people. But again, because this lie is being told by someone who's too big to fail, right? They just accept it. Because otherwise, guess what? All of us going to be collapsing anyway. Right? There's nothing's going to be um, left to save anyone. So again, that's why they fear deflation, because they would be forced to sell at a loss and then take that loss and show it to their clients, right? Now, when you're managing billions and hundreds of billions of dollars, that would be embarrassing if you caught doing that. And it's not about sophistication and all that stuff, you guys. It's all network. That's it.
So if everything is debt fueled, what are prices actually saying? When I price my house in dollars, the price goes up. And when I price my home in Bitcoin, the price goes down. Why would anybody want the latter to happen to their house?
So the question comes something like this: don't we need debt to be productive? And what that question is coming from is what they believe is companies can't start, you can't drive innovation without debt. But it's not true. Most innovation comes from equity. You believe in a founder before something's built, and you invest along with that founder to be able to build that value. And only you can only get paid if that delivers more value to society. The other part of that,
That's important. Like that's again, you could think of it as Ryan Cohen, right? So without Ryan Cohen getting into GME would not be where it is today. It would have been bankrupt, right? Because founder, I know he's not the founder of the company, but the point is that he's the leader of this company, whether through chairmanship or right now CEO, right? That leadership, because people, the capital, that people who have money to invest in him and trust in him, they would create. I guess you could say, Ryan Cohen has give people hope, right, of creating more capital because of his track record. Okay, and so people would would be willing to give that capital to Brian in order to grow that capital for the economic output, right? Now, some people just measure it based on, short squeeze and all that stuff. That's also economic value, but again, in a different way. It's not because of the economic output. Like employees, paying employees, make sure that they're taken care of. And then also the customer, like which is the biggest money spender, money generator for the company. So with that economic output, you could say that the company creates value for the economy, in so many ways. That's the only way. And then if, people, customer, for example, are unhappy to use the service that the company render, they will go elsewhere, right? Right now, because of the monopoly and all that stuff, you have the illusion of choice. And that's why everything is so expensive, is because they could price stabilizing, right? Have you heard about Jerome Powell keep saying, well, my job is to keep price stable, something like that. Do you actually know what that means? It means that his mandate is to keep price elevated for you, okay? With the natural capitalism society, it should be anyway, that there's a boom and bust cycle, that if you don't manage risk pretty well, you're going to have to go bust because of your stupidity, right? So that's a free market society back in COVID time or whatever, okay? That time should have been, the time to bankrupt every zombie companies out there, okay, who have zero, value in their balance sheet. But because of the loans and all that stuff, you're propping up bad companies everywhere. And that's the problem of the capital market right now, is that you have zombie companies that don't make nearly as much money, but they're still in the S&P 500 type thing. But anyway, let me just finish this. So that's a good point.
Same, I think, construct is we're used to needing assets, and everybody thinks in assets. And the only reason they think in assets is because they've never been able to store their money in money. If you could store your money in money, the asset wouldn't be needed. Deflation is bad for a debt-based system. So if all of the money that you believe your house is worth $1 million, but the house is only worth $1 million if the money is solvent. If the money wasn't there, the house isn't worth $1 million. It falls to almost zero. That debt-based system requires inflation. It requires, and what is inflation? It's stealing more money from you forever. So it sets up a natural cascade where you have to have an exponential increase in money supply forever. A better question is, why are we living in that system?
The dirty secret that they never tell you in school is that deflation is the biggest threat to debt. And the government is the biggest holder of debt in the world. The same people that tell you inflation is good, they're the ones who profit from it. If I can print money, anybody I already owe money to gets easier to pay back. And America owes a lot of people money, $37 trillion worth. And they're the ones.
It's not just other people, it's the citizen of the US too. So yeah, like in terms of Social Security, right, which they're actively trying to dismantle right now, right? They've been trying to go after Social Security forever, and this might be the time that they're not gonna, pay the honored amount, which you already paid into it. That's scary, but whatever.
Ones who benefit the most when your money buys you less. Their incentives aren't yours. Yours are to build, save, get ahead. Theirs, it's about to spend, borrow, and stay until it looks like they're about to fall over. They say a little inflation is healthy. That's like saying a little poison makes you strong. That's Moderna's sales pitch. It shouldn't be your senators. Prices, if they were measured with a stable currency, would constantly fall when technology improves. Think about it. Why can you buy a flat screen TV half the size of your wall for half the price of one that it would cost back in the 80s? All while the TV companies are making record profits. Moore's law proves that computing power doubles while cost halves, but your paycheck doesn't. That law applies to the real world in a slower form through robotics, factories, and renewable energy sources. But our system can't allow us to realize those discounts because the real deflation would collapse the illusion. So what actually happens when the truth gets priced in Bitcoin?
First, they think Bitcoin's a scam. Then they learn more about it and they understand it's not at all. It's the system they live in is a scam. And then they buy a little bit of Bitcoin, but they're still pricing it in the other system. And then as they start to understand how they could run a node, they could be part of a new system, they can move their time and energy to a new system, other things start to change too. All of the outcomes from human interaction from that system start to break and us divide, and then from Bitcoin start to heal and ask for to unite. The only way to win more is provide more value to society. Every single person providing more to society, you win too. In the new system, you think longer term. You think about your neighbor. You think about the people around you in a different way, because their success is your success. If you realize
This is important. Again, that's why, people who idealistically, idealist. I feel like I'm an idealist, even though I have no idea what that means. This means that realistically, or idealistly, you want people to be nice, and you want to be nice to your neighbor, and that, the system of lies just built on a pile of lies. Okay. And, if you lies about it enough, people will start to think that you're telling the truth. But the truth is, you cannot provide any economic output that is meaningful enough to change, to make people rich. Okay. I don't know what I'm rambling about, but my point is, in this system, it forces you to be truthful. That's the only way that you'll be rewarded through economic, through, people will, give you Bitcoin and stuff, right? In that system. And that the only way that the government would be able to go to war is to convince people to pitch in to go to war. Do you think that's what's going to happen if that's going to happen? Of course not. People are not going to just like, okay, yeah, take it. But that system will topple the current paradigm. So I'm sure there's a mixture of that's happening right now, where people are fighting for the freedom to transact, right? And so that's the next important point that people should be fighting for. Again, freedom is a very rare commodity nowadays, it seems, right? You could get censored everywhere. It's like you open your mouth, disagree with somebody, and then boom, your whole world is different. But again, my point is, like, you need people to be freely expressive, because then that's how you learn about the world around you. You cannot live in a vacuum and thinking that you're the only person that is right all the time. Come on, it's called, I don't want to call people's name, but stupidity or something. Like you or arrogant. Like, you're so arrogant to think that you know everything. That's a terrible person to be around, because they don't evolve. They think that they know everything and all that stuff. It's not very interesting conversation with these people. You see what I mean? But anyway, I don't know why I go off that tangent. But the point is that with this type of system, right, it forced people to be more productive, because otherwise, you would not be able to participate in the economic of whatever. Like, you cannot convince people to give you that value, to give you Bitcoin in order to provide any useful, meaningful services to people, right? And the point for crypto, or any crypto, but I think Bitcoin is unique because nobody could change that code, you know. But again, that's going to be contested for another decade, before people realize, oh yeah, and we'll see. By the time most people realize, it's probably what's happening right now. That's why people are lining up to buy gold, because they just realize, oh shit, I should have bought gold a year ago, right? Stuff like
If Bitcoin stays decentralized and secure, it is imposing this discipline. Will we still have problems? Yes, but those problems will be solved by individuals faster and faster and faster because you can't cheat it. And all of those problems being solved accrue to the benefit of everyone.
I'd like to thank my landlord for accepting mediocre returns on his capital so I can earn higher returns holding Bitcoin. That tweet says everything. In a Bitcoin world, value flows to builders, not borrowers. There are 21 million Bitcoin ever. No central bank meeting can change that. It's like switching from monopoly money to real gold mid-game, and then realizing who was winning by cheating. If you price the S&P 500 in gold bars since the 1930s, it's down over 40%. If you
that. That concept doesn't compute in people's mind, because they just see number goes up. Okay, and again, that's why the illusion of inflation is so powerful. It's because it cuts you slowly and you don't feel it. The next thing you know, your kids cannot pay for anything that you used to be able to afford. And not only that, the biggest lie, the other lies is that, well, these kids just don't want to work because they're so lazy and they can't figure out this and that, right? They should have 10,000 jobs. Over exaggeration. But my point is like, oh, they should have 5 different jobs just to stay alive. Yeah. Why are you so lazy? If how can you out earn somebody who have a money printing at their fingertip? Okay? It's like you can't. So, I mean, again, that's why Bitcoin is so good for society, for young people anyway. Well, again, young people right now don't even have to even know anything about Bitcoin. They just could just bet and all that stuff, right? And trade in and out. But most people who come to Bitcoin don't hold on to it for the next 10 years. They become so antsy and trade just like I was before. The same exact mentality, but eventually they're gonna learn, okay, just buy and hold and then never sell type thing. Right? Because you understand the value proposition for the long-term minded people, right? Any type of asset class. And so again, Bitcoin is important for the next generation, the nation of builders instead of borrowers, and tricking people based on some balance sheets, trickeries, and, hiding round tripping mechanism to try to drive artificial demand of some sort. But again, it's all hot air at this moment. I'm not saying that AI is not valuable, but it doesn't make money right now at this moment in time, and it's overvalued right now. Nvidia should not be at this particular price point. But again, if they are setting the mandate for the price to be at the floor, the floor price is, let's say, $100,000 for the S&P 500. Yeah, artificially, the price of S&P 500 would never dip down below that, because you're being subsidized by, the U.S. government. You're not allowed to sell it below that price. Okay. And so that's why you see a comparison like this. If you were to compare um, S&P 500 to gold and compare to today, it's down 40%. Even though your dollar goes up, you still have, and again, that's why your life feels so expensive because of these people, right? Um, you know, printing money with no regard for working class whatsoever. And on top of that, they blame it on you. They tell you that you're lazy. You're doing, and or you're just so dumb to figure out what is going on. You can't win. But again, people are waking up for this, to this. So I'm happy. But again, there's still people will be skeptical and, you know, and not making a decision to establish any position, and they will regret it in the next 5 years. Right now they have the victory dance because it's down in price, and look at it, like looking that it's about to cascade down even more, and people are too fearful, which is why I think it's the best time to buy.
Is winning by cheating. If you price the S&P 500 in gold bars since the 1930s, it's down over 40%. If you price the S&P 500 in Bitcoin, it's down 90% since 2011. Once you measure the world in Bitcoin, distortion fades, and what's left is reality. In Isla Mujeres, people are already saving in sats because their dollars buy less each month, but Bitcoin doesn't flinch. Bitcoin removes the filter. No, not that filter, the one that distorts what value really is. If prices are supposed to tell the truth, what story are they telling right now? That we value consumption over creation, that we value credit over productivity, and that a little bit of inflation is okay, just as long as nobody notices. Bitcoin will reprice the whole world because the truth is cheaper than the lies behind these promises.
Wow, I love this video. But anyway, I hope people understand the gravity of what this is happening, okay? Now, people will be, oh, why is the price of Bitcoin coming down then if it's so valuable? Zoom out, guys, okay? It's like some of that's probably bots, people are just, computer trying to chatter, giving people like anxiety and all that stuff. And again, that taunting way of people, well, again, making decision on buying Bitcoin. It takes a lot of courage, okay, for people to make that step. But I hope by the time you realize that crypto is the future. Yeah, my point is Bitcoin is not the only future. Of course, there's XRP and there's other chain out there that are going to contribute to this, deflationary environment. Of course, with the deflationary environment, you cannot just pick one or the other solely. So you need to have a mixture of it, but not to the degree that it is today. There's a distortion. It's just way too much already. I mean, look at how much gold is going up. You could see how people are going to rush into Bitcoin too. Eventually, when they realize Bitcoin is a lot better, more portable, and all that stuff. So, anywho, I will let you guys go. I feel like not quite sure how many people are actually listening, but yeah. Let's see. Do I even want to come back tomorrow? I have no idea. We'll see how I feel. I've been kind of taking it easy lately, so I don't want to do too much. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Depends on what I could find. Okay, guys, I will see